Welcome to Issues, a show produced by the Blair County Chamber of Commerce. Today's show, Moving to the Front, the long-awaited surge of businesswomen, is brought to you by these fine sponsors: Benzel's Pretzel Bakery, P. Joseph Lehman Incorporated, MPC Incorporated, Reliance Bank, and Seltzer Financial Strategies. Now, here is your host, Carolyn Donaldson.
Hello, and welcome to the Special Issues program brought to you by the Blair County Chamber of Commerce. We have a lively discussion planned for the next 45 minutes, so sit back and enjoy the ride, because even the title of our program today kind of sparked some interest among our very talented pool of guests that we have today. They are business leaders in our community, and we're very thankful that they joined us today for the discussion. So without further ado, let me introduce our panel today, and we begin with Amy Seltzer, who is founder and managing partner with the Seltzer Financial Strategies, LLC. 10 years in the business here, but many years before that in the financial industry. Amy, thanks for joining us. Barbara Kumin with Kumin & Associates, a financial advisor, a homespun wonderful company here based in Blair County, and a longtime member of the community. Barbara, instrumental in bringing women and women's issues to the forefront. Thanks for joining us. We have Becky Stevens, who is president and third generation of a family of the Stevens Company, industrial janitorial service company providing services throughout this whole area of central Pennsylvania, leading the company after 3 generations. Becky, exciting. Carol Gensimer joins us from Value Drug as a business analyst there, has been in the community in many different roles in the business community, and also an active member of the Chamber of Commerce. Actually, all the women gathered here today are active members. And Andrea Cohen, who is vice president of real estate for the Blair Companies, again, a third generation business here. And thank you. First of all, this is an exciting group, a dynamic group, and this group does so much not just for women, but for the business community in the Chamber of Commerce. I think we need to preface that, because I think, yes, the topic will be about women and our role in the business community, but it's synonymous with sustainability and profitability and making this a great place to live and work. So let me start on the question, a little history lesson here, so we can get a little more background on our panel and where they came from in this wonderful world of business. So Amy, I am going to start with you and ask you a little bit about your rise, that long-awaited surge into the business community.
I started out, actually, I graduated as a teacher, and very early on, a year later, realized I probably should have been in accounting or finance. At that time, we have the family business, Modern Communications. I went in after school and I would work there, and ended up running the whole financial side, stopped teaching after a year. We grew into 5 states, and when we sold that business, my brother had already opened the financial consulting business in Richmond, Virginia, and wanted me to open a branch here. And so that's how I really started here. But the 20 to 25 years in the family business doing the financial end in 5 different states was really my beginning.
Wow. What a great history. That's great. Carol, let me ask you about your background.
And actually, much like Amy, mine began with the family business. So when I was very young, my parents opened their business, and myself and my sisters would work in the office with them. And so for me, it just seemed very natural. It wasn't even as if I had to make that decision. It just seemed that it was a natural fit for me. Mm-hmm. And then I continued on.
That's wonderful. And Barbara?
Yes. I had been working for a government agency, Southern Alleghenies Planning Commission. It was a Team Pennsylvania initiative, talking to business owners across the 6 counties. And at the same time, my husband had started an independent financial services firm, and I was doing all his marketing. And so I was working 1.5 jobs. And he asked me to come in one day because there were some women that were gathering for a conversation about their family's finances, and he thought, 3 suits in the room maybe would be a little disarming. So I showed up as a plant, and really, the way the women responded to me was so different compared to how they responded to the 3 men, my husband included. And I thought, I can do this. And I think because business, when women are involved, is a lot about relationships. Mm-hmm. I think that really spawned my interest and my career in financial services.
Wonderful. Well, we're going to touch on relationships in a big way, not only with our relationship with the Chamber of Commerce and how that helps businesses, but just even that networking concept that I think, I believe women do best. So we'll touch on that. But let's get to Becky and hear her story.
Well, I also had a family business, but I did not work in it when I was growing up, and I left the area and came back to pursue a different opportunity. And at that time, my father, who I think was kind of tricky, said, you can come and work at the Stevens Company, and we'll work around your schedule. And so I started there doing a variety of things. And very quickly, I realized that it was going to be a great way for me to have challenges, but also to be able to pursue balance in my life between work and family, which I know we're going to talk about later also. And so I started there in sales, and 26 years later, I'm still there, and it's a great place to work.
A lot of hard work along the way. We'll talk about that too, because what you're hearing as success stories didn't just come naturally or familiarly. It came through some hard work. But let's continue with Andrea and her family business that has grown into an empire. I know you handle the real estate side, but it is such a large force in the region.
Well, I started out actually in sports marketing, and I only wanted to live in a big city. So after I graduated from college, I went to work for an organization in Washington, D.C., and I put packages together with Fortune 500 companies and like Major League Baseball and the National Hockey League. And after a couple years, probably 6 or 7, decided that being on the road all the time was not exactly how I wanted to spend my life. So I remained in Washington, D.C., and I traveled to Pittsburgh and West Virginia working for 2 of our companies. One was Blair Design and Construction that did I did project management for them. And I also, we were involved with a radio station, and I remember going to Weirton, West Virginia, and learning my way around and doing sales for a radio station. So that was very interesting. But once I got married, there was an opportunity for my husband in Altoona, so we moved back here. And I went to work for the Blair companies, and I wore a number of different hats for several years, did collections and just learned different aspects of the business. Just shy of about 20 years ago, I went into real estate, and my father had a lot of real estate properties, and he was a great person to learn from, and still is. And but I've kind of learned on the job too, so it's been a great experience.
Wonderful. Very exciting, really kind of a diverse, but there's some similarities too that these women speak of. Well, thinking of this region particularly and Blair County, what has been some of the more challenging things that I think perhaps women business leaders have found? And, you know, constructively, more opportunities, more challenges, you know, how has it been in what I would typify as, I guess, a traditional work environment? Maybe I'm speaking out of tone there. I don't know who wants to start in first. Andrea.
Well, I think statistically, if you look at the world in general and in the United States, I think there's a statistic that 15% of women make up the boards of Fortune 500 companies. So if you take that locally to Altoona, I think you do have a lot of women that are involved, but maybe not in top leadership positions. But I think over time, you do see a change. We're certainly accepted in Altoona, but I think it's just globally, it has been what has been the norm. So we all have to do our work to break the norm.
Work against that.
And I read an article on Sunday that said there are more women-owned businesses now than ever before, and more entrepreneurial women. And they said in the article it was because of mentors and people like, even like Oprah Winfrey or Tory Burch, or just different people all over the country that have had more women interested. I know around here, I agree with Andrea. I think there is some more opportunity, and I think we are more accepted. But the biggest challenge I find, and I don't know if Barb's in the same industry I am, is in our business, I mean, we're the minority. I mean, women in our industry, I think in all the industries, I can speak for all 5 of us, we're in the minority. So that's a challenge all on its own. And the relationships are more important. And I'm not saying more important than men, but I find the same thing. I'm very relationship oriented, and I think women tend to be more so, which is a plus versus a minus for all of us.
Carol, you've worked in a couple of different industries, I guess, moving now into pharmaceutical and work. Have you seen differences within the different context of your work?
I have. As a matter of fact, actually, when I was at Hayes Large and being an architectural engineering firm, it seemed, the industry itself as a whole seems more open to having women leaders.
Okay.
And I know for myself, serving as Chief Operating Officer with Hayes Large, I was the very first woman to hold that level of office at Hayes Large, and that business has been in business since the 1930s. And so it really didn't seem to be a difficult climb. You work hard, as these ladies all know, and you do what you need to do. You focus on the fundamentals. And for me, it was rewarded. And so I was pleasantly pleased with that. With the pharmaceutical industry, I think like everything else, we're starting to see those changes. Carla Michela is our Executive Vice President for Business Development and Marketing, and she has been with Value Drug for a very long time and does a great job. And I see a lot of opportunity for women, not only within Value Drug, but within the independent pharmacies that we serve, that they have the opportunity. So it's, I think therein lies the hope, and we're seeing that change, and we're seeing that shift.
And gender shouldn't be the defining factor, right? Are we
should
all
not.
in agreement there? I mean,
It
it's
should
not.
not.
Even the relationship building, right, Barbara, that you mentioned at the beginning. It's
Absolutely.
not women seeking other women per se. It's
Correct.
That is
the
correct.
innate ability we have to form relationships. Is that kind of
Well,
what you?
I think that men often look at business as a way to form a relationship, and I think it's just the opposite with women. We seek out the relationship and build on that, and then the business will come. And I think that's why women connect with each other so much more easily, because we're used to having relationships, and then the business is an important component, but not the only thing driving the relationship. You really like to know who you're working with, what their lives are like, how you can find a solution based on what their life is like, rather than just sales or a business relationship driving the whole, personal relationship. I think it's just the opposite.
Very good point. Becky, your industry has to be male dominated. I mean, just your customer base and everything. Was that an adjustment over the years in your roles that you've taken on in the family business?
It absolutely was. I think one of the things I absolutely love about living here and working here is I do think a smaller community, the relationships, gender, I think is so much less important. It is what it is. In my industry, it's frustrating because not so much even with clients locally, but when I'm dealing in the wider in the associations and different functions that I have to do with those associations. Sometimes gender is an issue, but you just keep doing everything you need to do, and then in time it doesn't really matter at all. So I think it's just going to continue to change. I think each generation it becomes less and less important. So
I think we're working in that field, respectively in our different fields. Do they wait for the suits to show up in your business, Andrea?
No, not really.
Okay.
I think women are very well respected in the real estate business.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's
It's
a
all about
problem.
relationship
It
building.
is all about relationship. It's about trust and honesty and working directly with people and understanding that when somebody's renting a property from you, it's their business, it's their livelihood. So I need to understand, help them, make it come a reality. Everybody that I work with always jokes, I say, call on the weekend, call whenever you need it, because if you're out of hot water it's not hurting me, but it's hurting your business, and I'm going to help resolve your problem. So
Sure.
I think it is all about relationships.
Okay.
But the other thing that I also think, and I know we're all really actively involved in different boards, is to establish yourself. I encourage people always to get involved with boards, and I think we develop relationships in a different way when we're working with peers, not necessarily people that we work with on a daily basis. And you build a lot of credibility that way, and these relationships can help you over time just by knowing who to call if you have a problem or an issue.
Cool.
And I think that's the theme everything keeps coming back to, is the relationships. And that's something that we all feel very strongly about, that's the most important thing. You have good relationships, everything else will come. I think, Barb, you put that very well.
Great.
And I think doing business in a smaller community where your reputation is the most important thing that you have, it does make a difference. You feel so much more connected. If you were in a large city and you saw your client when they stopped in once or twice a year, it's a lot different than when you see someone, in the hardware store or the grocery store, and you're interacting with them on a personal level. I think really recognizing that having a place in your community and not just being a business person really makes life so much more rewarding in all aspects, business and personal, family. Those issues are important.
All good points. Well, we talk about relationships and our tie-in with the Blair County Chamber of Commerce. So I want to bring up that Leadership Blair County, over the past many years of its existence, has had 194 women graduate from this really stellar program where it promotes, serving in the community and making that difference. So I guess for those who did graduate through the program, I understand we have 2 graduates here, Carol and Andrea. What were some of the LBC experiences that maybe helped you grow individually and maybe professionally and as a woman in general? Andrea?
I love Leadership Blair County. It brought 24 people together from all different walks of life. And we were there for a common cause, is really to build our own leadership skills. The Chamber did a great job bringing in facilitators and trainers to help us develop our leadership. They provided hands-on experiences. They organized tours of Blair County. I remember going to the farms and to going through the police barracks and just learning everything about Blair County.
Even though you grew up here,
exactly.
You never had a chance to really investigate.
I was never in a jail before. And I got a back tour of the jail, and I remember going to a lot of the different school districts and learning a little bit more about the superintendents and their roles. So I thought it was amazing. I learned different aspects of Altoona and Blair County that I never knew existed, and truly it expanded my horizon and my view of everybody working in Blair County.
Carol?
I agree with everything that Andrea said. I think that Leadership Blair County is really a gem of a program for the Chamber of Commerce. I consider it a gateway actually into the business community. For myself, I really didn't have anybody leading the way or paving the path for me. So it wasn't until after I went through the Leadership Blair County program that I had an opportunity to be on boards, which is so important, and to participate on committees within the Chamber, and really to expand my horizon and my exposure. And I really do believe it is an incredible program that they have. And I think, as Andrea said, 24 diverse individuals from various backgrounds, such a tremendous learning opportunity. I can't say enough about it, and I certainly hope that for years to come, they continue with that program. It's phenomenal.
And again, the fact that 194 women have graduated over the years, I think, is testimony to the strength of the program too, because it certainly wasn't based on any gender going in, but the women sought out those, again, relationship type building programs. So I think that's
I
great.
can say about Leadership Blair County, I wasn't involved personally, but I know the group annually does a project as a class. And several of the projects our office has been involved in, and it gives other people an opportunity to participate. I know there was a program that had to do with providing household items to victims at the domestic abuse shelter. You know, and people in our office were excited about that, would never have really donated anything, but those projects really do help bring a community together, and it's a great spur to have 24 people commit to something and get the rest of the community involved. That's a great thing.
It's that vehicle to be able to have those.
Absolutely.
All you need to do is be asked, right?
Yes.
Sometimes it's that simple ask that
Yes,
leadership.
Yeah, every
recommending.
class has to have a project. So they pick an organization
remember
or a
yours?
project. We actually were trying to put together a database on like a community calendar and ways to get involved in the community.
Yes.
And part of it is still in existence and part of it is not. But one of the things I think is neat is through Judy Judah, who is really the heart of Leadership Blair County. She has an incredible database of alumni, and everybody fills out a form once you go through Leadership Blair County what your fields of interests are. So you may say, I like working with senior citizens, or I really like the arts. And then you're also categorized by what your strengths are. I'm a lawyer, I'm an accountant, I love to organize. So you kind of get categorized that way. And then, for example, I'm on United Way's board, and when we need a new board member, we often go to the LBC alumni list and say, you know, we really need somebody with financial strength. Look through the list. Often I call Judy and say, who would be good? and you know, it's just tremendous that you can pick up leadership potential that way.
Well, let me move on to this point, because I think we'll get into more programs the Blair County Chamber does, and specifically We Lead, so we'll get to that in a minute. But I think it's important to point out that as you talk about relationships and serving on communities and serving the community, you folks are, I know on pretty much every board that I've ever been involved with, and just in the media, you know, so to speak. So how do you do it? How do you do that work-life balance? And I guess I have to say, as a woman, how different is it for us out in the business community? And that could take up an entire program, I know, in and of itself. So maybe we need to summarize a little bit. What has been maybe your best work-life balance, or maybe an example that has worked for any of you out there? Everybody's quiet.
I'll tell you what,
Okay.
I think learning to balance and showing your family the importance of balancing it was important to me. My kids are in college now, one's a graduate actually, and I always like to discuss my involvement at work, but also what I was doing in the community on boards, because I was hoping that by example, I was teaching a lesson to my children. So to me, the work balance was, you know, sharing information with my family. Also, I was fortunate that I was in the family business, that if I wanted to go to a play date or watch a production at school, I had a little bit of flexibility.
Sure.
And I was fortunate, but some people, it's a little more difficult and requires a lot more scheduling. But I think as a woman, we carry a lot of weight on our shoulders, and you know, you have to prioritize what's important to you.
I want to get to the rest of their comments, but we're about halfway through the program. We're talking about work-life balance. We're talking about women in the marketplace, in the business world here in the Blair County region. Your Issues program today is brought to you by the Blair County Chamber of Commerce, and we definitely have to thank our sponsors, some of whose businesses are led by women. We have Benzel's Pretzel Bakery, Joseph Lehman Incorporated, NPC Incorporated, Reliance Bank, and Seltzer Financial Strategies, bringing you this important Issues Chamber program today. And I want to reintroduce the panel for those of you just joining us, men, women. We're talking about the impact of Blair County business women on our community and on the changing face of our growth and sustainability here in the Blair County economy. So joining me today, we have Amy Seltzer, who is a founder and principal of the Seltzer Financial Strategies, LLC, joining us today. Barbara Kuhman, who is a financial analyst with Kuhman & Associates, a Blair County-based business. We have Becky Stevens, president and third generation of the Stevens Company, viable, great company here in Blair County. Carol Gensimer, a business analyst with Value Drug. And we also have Andrea Cohen, who is vice president of real estate with the Blair Company. So once again, we're talking about Moving to the Front, the surge of Blair County business women. And we've been at the front in some respects, and we've also tried to balance all of that. And so we're continuing our discussion really with that quality of life issue and how that balance works and how women play that integral role in doing that. You've been there.
Yeah, you know, I, as Andrea, I had the advantage to be able to be in a family business, so I did have that flexibility.
Sure.
However, I would say I probably felt then guilty when I was with my kids, and then I felt guilty when I was at work. So, you know, it's still not easy to work on that. And I think, you know, one of the things that I want to convey, especially to, well, I think a lot of younger women, but it also happens, as many of my friends are experiencing now, that we become caregivers later in life with our parents. So, you know, you can have it at all stages. But I think we have to really support each other. I think we have to, as employers, be mindful that these are real priorities for people, and that great, skilled, wonderful employees are going to face these challenges, and how can we support them so that they can work through it? I mean, my kids, like Andrea's, are almost grown, so I'm getting out of that stage, so I have a lot more flexibility. But
and you, as an employer, are cognizant for your own employee
Absolutely.
group of all those struggles
Absolutely.
men and women face.
Men and women.
Sure.
And you know, I've read an article recently, and they were saying that one of the largest reasons that women leave work is they'll make it through maybe their second child, but then eventually they will leave because there's no way for them to actually make it either financially or from a time perspective make it work. So then they will leave the working world, and sometimes they'll come back and sometimes they won't, but there's just no way for them to balance it. I read another piece that talked about a woman who said later in her career she actually admitted that there was a big chunk of her working life where her salary only paid for the child care that was
I think
necessary.
we've all been there, haven't we? Typified, figured out how those bills are paid.
But she still felt that in the long run, from a financial perspective for her, not leaving the workforce, she still came out ahead because she didn't have that gap in her working years and her experiences. So, you know, I think we just have to kind of all struggle through it together, support each other, and as employers, be mindful of that with our employees.
Woman-owned business here,
Well,
you have a unique situation with wealth management. I guess you're trying to redefine how...
And at the beginning, I had the same advantages that these two had, where I could leave the office. I had some flexibility. What I've tried to teach my kids is quality of time is better than quantity of time. So as long as when you're home or you're at their functions or wherever you're going, that's the main, you know, priority. You don't have to be there all the time. However, I am right now, I'm struggling with, I've got two parents who aren't well, and I have 3 grandchildren here, and I run a business, and probably I have the biggest struggle with balance at this time in my life than when I've ever. But I will say this, at my office, I had the first person retire, and it wasn't because she, you know, she didn't like where she was. I mean, she retired. But the one thing I've tried to do in my office, too, is to think back to where I was when I started. And nobody punches a time clock, and if somebody's child has, you know, a recital or a conference or a dentist appointment or whatever, they know. I believe in that flexibility, and it's one of the ways that I'm able to keep the team that I've got, which is a great team, because I do see that flexibility, I mean, that work-life balance is tough at any stage of your life. So while I'm doing it, I'd like to tell you I'm not sure I'm doing it as well now as I did it earlier, but it's always there. I think it goes back to what I think Becky just said. It doesn't matter what stage of life you're in, you've always got that.
Sure. So work in progress, I think we can say.
And I think women, I'm sorry,
you
Carol.
go right ahead.
I think when women can demonstrate that they can juggle all of those issues, family issues, work issues, demonstrate that in the workplace, that they are loyal, dedicated, hardworking employees that just might happen to need to leave at 3:30 in the afternoon for one of their children's soccer matches. I think that helps employers, especially if they're male employers, recognize that to be able to be flexible, to bend the rules a little bit, or maybe change the rules based on the needs of all of their employees. It shouldn't be such a rigid work environment that, because women often are the ones who have to pick up and take the kids to a doctor's appointment. That role often falls to us rather than, the man if there's a husband and wife. Those things are changing too.
Sure.
Technology is allowing us to do work outside of our actual workplace. And that's a great opportunity for women to be able to stretch a work day and include many more things that involve family, involve community, and still be a dedicated employee.
Good
That's
point.
a good point
Really good
about
point.
the technology, because you're right. It enables everybody to work.
It also keeps us tethered, though, to our work 24/7. Can we say that?
It's hard
Okay.
It does. But I'd like to add to that. I remember, of course, with my parents having their own business, my father really never came to any of our events. He was the one. My mom would leave work to make sure that she could take me and my three sisters to our sporting events, our school events, or what have you. I think those dynamics are changing today, and I think that I'm not certain that there really is a work-life balance. I think that it is always fluid. I think depending upon where you are and what stage you're in life. But I think the most important thing that you can do is that you need to be able to look forward and say, what will I do in 20 years? In that I won't have to look back and have regrets, that I will have made the best decision that I did for where I was at the time. And I think that's really what we have to look at, because I'm really not certain that there is any balance. And I'm very fortunate. I have a husband who says, go do what you need to do, Carol, I'll take care of everything else. Wow. And it's fabulous, and I think that you need to be able to have that support system. So I think those dynamics are shifting, and I think you do find more men who are now much more active with the children, and they're going to the events, and maybe mom can stay at work and do what she needs to do, and you have that support. So I'm hopeful things will continue that way.
All these issues are great topics for things like We Lead, right? This is exactly the kind of things that you deal with some of those special programs. Who wants to let us know what We Lead is for those who might not be familiar with the program as part of the Chamber of Commerce?
Well, I can tell you that We Lead stands for Women Encouraging Leadership, Education, and Development. And that's a really broad umbrella to look at. But we've had great programs that really focus on a lot of these issues that we're discussing today. And the networking aspect is such an important part of the We Lead mission. We really think it's important to have women of all different ages, different responsibilities in the workplace, whether they're entry level or have a much more mature position. And it's really a great opportunity to get women together. We end up doing an awful lot of talking, as you might imagine, but it's the opportunity to find out, how did you handle this, or have you ever dealt with this, or what should I do? Who do you know that I can talk to? Those are the kind of things that we talk about and We Lead. We have great programs, but with networking, a lot of those things really are brought to the fore as well.
Andrea, can you typify some of the other programs that they have? I understand there's the networking lunch and learn programs, those kind of things that people might want to get involved with.
Well, every April we have a signature event where we bring in a nationally recognized speaker to cover any variety of topics. I mean, one
and that's
could
kind of
be
voted on by the committee and by the people?
Often our group will talk about a speaker that they had met or were inspired by, or a book that they read, and then we will try to bring somebody in. And we have a sponsor, Blair Medical Associates, who's been our sponsor for a number of years, that help us underwrite some of the costs. And at these events, we can have anywhere from 125 to 200 women. It's a morning session. We meet around 8 o'clock. Well, first we have a kind of a coffee, and you can visit with different vendors. And then we have a lecture, normally from about 8 till 11:30, and then we have a lunch. And again, it's a networking opportunity there too, because you can sit at a table with people that you don't know and have the opportunity to meet with them. So that our signature event is always in April. And twice a year, we also have Lunch and Learn.
Okay. Very interesting. And there's informal things, I think, that would go on. Go ahead, Becky.
I would add about our events, all of our events, but especially when we have our big event in April. My husband's always saying, well, can I come to the We Lead event? And I always say yes. Men are welcome as well. And actually, I would say most of the topics that we've had at our signature events, they tend to really deal with things that affect all business people, like body language or time management, dealing with difficult people. I mean, these really are topics that all of us can use, men, women, in business, in other types of organizations, or in your personal life. So, I mean, it really could be for absolutely anyone, although our mission is certainly to help working women in Blair County, but everyone should come.
And we really think it's important to give employers an opportunity to invest in their women, because a better employee, a better citizen, helps everybody. But most importantly, it helps the employer. If a woman recognizes that her employer is willing to give her the morning and lunchtime off to pursue professional and personal development, because if you are gained professional development, it improves your interpersonal skills as well.
Absolutely.
So we really think that it's important for employers to recognize how valuable that is, and what a message that sends to the employee that, hey, you know, you're worth investing in. We see a future for you here, and we'd like you to just, you know, be the best person you can be, which makes for a much better employee as well.
And I think we've had a good response from the different companies who send a variety of women there. At the end of those meetings, we also ask the women to fill out, or whoever's there, men too, I mean, a survey, so that we really do get the different ideas for what we're going to do next from them. So if there are certain topics that they'd like to hear about, and we have a large number of people that tell us they want to hear about the same thing, we really do look for national speakers on that topic and give that great consideration.
Very good, very good. We've got a little less than 10 minutes left, and I want to devote a little time into kind of looking at that crystal ball there, a little out in the future, and maybe how we as women and as part of the business community can improve our own circumstances and other women that may be watching or tuning in or being a part of the chamber. I guess maybe short and long-term goals that you could see women in the business community here getting involved with, or where would you see some areas that we could strengthen, I guess, to make us a stronger force to be reckoned with as we talk about that surge continuing for women in the business community?
Well, I would suggest that people get involved with the chamber.
Okay.
They have the GRIP group, which is for people 40 and under. And again, it's networking. Like Barb said, networking is just so powerful. You could be looking for a job and talking to someone. They may introduce you to a human resource manager. They may know of a job. And with communications, with emails, we can go back and forth with information so quickly. So I think getting involved with networking opportunities, getting on board so that people see you outside of your realm, because you're in one industry and you're probably surrounded by 10 people or 100 people.
Sure.
But as soon as you go on a board, there's 20 different people there, and they're from all walks of life, from banks to retailers to whatever. And it's just a good opportunity for people to continue to network. I think it gives
to
you
increase
credibility.
the community too,
Right.
to raise our community, because we all chose to live here, right?
Right.
And raise our
Right.
families and grow our businesses and things.
I will tell you that one of the best things I ever did when I opened my business was join the Chamber of Commerce. I started going to some business after hours, and at that time they were having some more lunch and learns, and I met so many people and expanded my world that it really did change change how my business
Grew your business, I would hope.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it's not even that I was out looking for clients. It's once again back to what Barb said at the beginning. It was just, making the new relationships and meeting new people. But the chamber has been great. And I know, just as Barb also said, I encourage the people in my office, just like she does, to, come to these signature events and to be there and to learn and to network. And I do think that the chamber is absolutely one of the best places that you can do that. Just to look at the different events, pick what fits your schedule, pick what you can do, even if it's once a month.
Right.
And I would add to that, for anyone looking to get involved, if their employer is a member of the chamber, then that individual is a member of the chamber. And so they can attend these events or programs. Sign up is online. It makes it very easy. And so I would say take a look at it, see if their employer is, and if they are, please come join us.
And I think, too, women are social beings. We like to be around other women. We like to be around people. There are lots of women organizations you can join, but the chamber is a great way for women to begin interacting with the business men in the community. So it's not gender specific. People committed to improving the business climate, providing educational opportunities and networking. I really think in our community, the chamber is a way to bring business people, men and women, together for a common purpose. And it really does benefit you as a business person to be involved. Again, whether you're at the entry level just starting out and wanting to meet other people, or if you have very specific goals for your business in addition to the business climate in the region, the chamber's a real advocate for different causes. So it's an important connection for everyone to make, I think.
I would add something that has nothing to do with the chamber, and I would say, especially for younger women, but for all women and for men as well, that I think especially younger women feel maybe that my advice would be take chances, go for it, make mistakes, fall down, get up, do it again, try something else. I think sometimes they worry so much about other people or their need to take care of other people. I think they just have to go for it and keep trying. And if you think you can't do something, but you want to do it, you just have to keep going and do it.
Our nurturing innate abilities, I guess, can help us and hurt us in certain respects. So we need to step outside of our shell. We've got 3 minutes left, so I just want to go right around the table and say, what would be the next step for someone? What would be your best advice you can give someone today watching maybe that future business leader, and be it a man or a woman? Amy. I'm putting you on the spot.
Putting me on the spot. The best advice today, I would say follow your dreams, ask questions, find a mentor, somebody that can lead you by the hand, or
and
at
you've
least,
been that for many women, I know, or
I
people.
think it's important, and I think it's important for young women to not be afraid to ask for help.
Okay.
That look at all of us here. If there's anybody out there that needed something, they could call any one of us, and we'd be more than glad to help them, but to maybe just mentor them a little bit.
Okay. Take chances, mentor. Barb?
Right.
I agree. I think the most important thing is, first, after you believe in yourself, find other people who believe in you and see the value that you bring and just learn from them. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a building process, and as you get new skills, you would strengthen them and move forward. But people who believe in you are happy to, help lift you up.
Help lift you up. Sounds good. Carol?
I would agree wholeheartedly. If there is some place that you want to get, then just move in that direction. And as Becky said, if you fall down, then you get back up. But you keep moving in that same direction, and don't let anything deter you.
Okay. Andrea?
I'd say set a goal, whether it's a goal a month or a goal a year. Set a goal and go for it. There's no experience that's a bad experience. You're going to learn from it. So if you fall down, like Becky said, just get right back up. If you don't really like what you're doing, give it a shot, but you're going to learn something from it. You're going to learn something about yourself. You're going to learn something about the people around you. So
Wow.
just go for it.
All good advice. Setting goals, taking those chances, finding perhaps that mentor, getting more involved in the community can all strengthen you personally and professionally. And I think that you guys are testimony to some of that success that you've found in your own businesses and hopefully in your own lives. But we thank you so much for being a part of our program today. Contact the Blair County Chamber of Commerce. Follow up. Check out that We Lead seminar that's going to be coming up. And ask your employer, if you're in that position, what can I do to take that next step for personal and professional development? Thank you so much for joining us. And thanks to our sponsors, again, for bringing us this very important program today.
The Blair County Chamber of Commerce thanks you for watching Issues. Today's show, Moving to the Front, the long-awaited surge of businesswomen, was brought to you by these fine sponsors: Benzel's Pretzel Bakery, P. Joseph Lehman Incorporated, MPC Incorporated, Reliance Bank, and Seltzer Financial Strategies.